My name is Jacob Joslow, Joslow. I am recording on the 2nd of February, 1975. I live at 100 Fordham, Fordham Road, West Newton, Massachusetts. 02165 is the zip code. Before I answer your questions, I want to comment on my relationship with the chaplains in the American zone of Germany following the war. My contact with them was minimal. They had their work to do in the Army, and I had my work to do in the displaced persons camp. Never during my year of experience in Germany did I work directly with any of the chaplains. My comments about their work and their affiliation with us is based mainly on reports that were given to me or by contact with the displaced persons in the camps who told me what they knew about the work. During the year, I worked with no chaplains at all. I met 4: Abraham Klausner, Herbert Friedman, who later became head of the UJA, a Rabbi Brody, Braude, whose first name I don't recall, and Rabbi Bonner, Bohner. I met these rabbis at various times during the year at the office of the Joint Distribution Committee, but at no time was I directly connected in any capacity with either of the 4 of them. You may then question the validity of my answers to your questions, but you'll have to take them for what they are worth. Question: with what organization were you affiliated from 1944 to 1948? What was your position? In what part of Europe did you work? Answer: I was affiliated with the American Joint Distribution Committee, going to Germany in 1945, returning at the end of 1946, and was in charge of the overseas desk at the New York office until 1949. My position was educational director, and for the most part I worked in the American zone of Germany. In addition to my affiliation with the American Joint Distribution Committee, I was made educational consultant to UNRWA in 1945, a position I held until I left in 1949. Second question: where, when, and under what circumstances did you first come into professional contact with the American Jewish chaplain with regard to the remnants of European Jewry? Who was this chaplain? Answer: believe it or not, I had no contact with any chaplain during my 3-month stay in the 7th Army Zone with headquarters in Frankfurt. It was not until I arrived in Munich, the headquarters of the 3rd Army Zone, that I met my first chaplain. He was Abraham Klausner. The date was January 1946. It was Rabbi Klausner's practice to come to Munich for weekends away from his post in the 7th Army Zone, later in the 3rd Army Zone. It was while he was visiting at the JDC headquarters, where he occupied a room, that I met him and discussed with him some of the problems with the displaced persons. Question 3. What other experiences did you and the American Jewish chaplains have with the survivors of the Holocaust? Answer: the question assumes that all of us working for the JDC had relationships with the American Jewish chaplains and worked with them. To the contrary, we did no work with the chaplains at all. Some of them had complaints, some were doing some relief work on their own. but none with the organization with whom I was working. Question 4. Many chaplains whom I had interviewed have described their working relations with members of other Jewish organizations as being complementary. That is, that there was so much to be done that you all helped each other. Do you agree with this assessment? How did you view each of your roles? Was his position as chaplain helpful to you in any way? Why do most of the reports sent to the JDC during this period not mention the collaboration between the chaplains and the JDC? Comment. We had very few working relations with the members of the chaplaincy of the United States Army. Surely there was much to be done, but I can't say that we helped each other. Rather, we helped the displaced persons. That was the main point. As far as I was concerned, what the chaplains did, they did on their own and did not tell us too much about it. On the other hand, they knew pretty much what the representatives of the relief agencies were doing in each of the camps in both the 3rd and the 7th Army zones. So I can't agree with the assessment that we worked together because there was so much to be done. My view of their role was that of a rabbi. I was there to do relief work, humanitarian work, and I paid attention to that responsibility. At no time during the year that I served in Germany can I say that any one or more chaplain was of help to me. Reports sent to the JDC did not mention the collaboration between the chaplains and the JDC simply because there was no collaboration. 5th question. Were you involved in any way with the package programs that the American Jewish chaplains initiated? Answer. No. In fact, this is the first I have heard of a package program initiated by the American Jewish chaplains. The only package program with which I was involved, and believe me, there was plenty of headaches in it, was a program devised by the Klausenberg Yeshiva group under the leadership of Rabbi Halberstam, who had sent letters to all of the Hasidim affiliated with his group to send packages to him in care of the Army Post Office. When these packages began arriving in large numbers, I was called in to try to solve the problem. But the chaplains had nothing to do with this at all. 6th question. Did you and the chaplains ever work together in providing food and other necessities to the survivors? Answer. No. Food supplies and other necessities came in large quantities to us in Germany. We distributed them through the facilities of the Joint Distribution Committee. Some of this material was contributed material from the United States. Others were purchased by us in other parts of Europe, such as Belgium and Holland and Sweden. UNRWA was also involved in this. They sent food and other supplies into the camps, and the distribution was made jointly by the UNRWA representative and the JDC representative in the camp. 7th question. Were you and the chaplains ever involved in Aliyah Beth? If so, please be specific. How would you characterize his role in this work? Answer. I was involved in the Aliyah, but not with the chaplains. I know of no instance when chaplains helped in moving the displaced persons in and out of camps. Whatever his role was in the work, it was completely apart from the work that we were doing. Question 8. Were you and the chaplain involved with the Jewish Agency or UNRWA? Answer. If you mean that I was involved with a chaplain in work with the Jewish Agency and UNRWA? The answer is no. At no time during the period of service in Germany did any chaplain work with me. I was involved with the Jewish Agency in some of the work of the Brecha in Czechoslovakia and in East Germany and what is now West Germany. I was involved a great deal with UNRWA, but at no time with chaplains and UNRWA. Question 9. Did you and the chaplain ever work together with the trains that transported the Jews? Answer: no. Whatever transporting of displaced persons took place either in trains or in trucks, it was done by the relief agencies, either JDC alone, JDC with UNRWA, and more often JDC with the United States Army Transportation Department. 10th question. With what other Jewish organizations were you and the chaplain involved during this period? We were involved with other Jewish organizations, but were not with the chaplains during the period that I was in Germany. The Jewish organizations with which I was involved were ORT, the Jewish Board of Deputies from Great Britain, a group from South Africa, and what is known as HIAS, but actually it was part of the JDC operation. But none of this work was done with the chaplains. We did work closely with the National Catholic Welfare Conference, the Friends Service Committee, and the World Church Service, none of them being Jewish organizations, but they had a humanitarian interest in our work, worked with us, and looked to us for some of the leadership. 11th question. Were you and the chaplain ever called upon to smooth relationship between DPs and the United States Army? Answer: there were many times that we were called in to smooth relationships between the DPs and the United States Army, but at no time was a chaplain involved in these discussions. I would say that the difficulties that existed many times during the year were solved completely by the understanding of the representatives of the United States Army. 12th question. Were you involved in work within the concentration camps? Comment. Since I did not arrive in Germany until several months after the cessation of hostilities, I did not have an opportunity to work in the concentration camps. Comment. Since I did not arrive in Germany until several months after the cessation of hostilities, I could not have worked within the concentration camps. I was told that as soon as camps were liberated, when the American Army took over, that chaplains, both Christian and Jewish, were very helpful. The information I received was that the GIs, particularly the Jewish GIs, were of the most help to the Jewish victims of the concentration camps. Question 13. Did you ever help the chaplains collect guns, ammunition, and/or money to be sent to Palestine? Answer: no. 14. How would you characterize the role of the American Jewish chaplain during the period from 1944 to 1948? Answer: until the relief agencies arrived on the scene in Europe, a great deal of relief work was done by the chaplains and the members of the Army staff, officers and enlisted personnel. The chaplains went out of their way to help the people as they were released from the concentration camps, and even shared with them the rations that were issued by the Army. I know of many instances where clothes were given by GIs. Not enough praise can be given to the Army personnel who helped the liberated people. 15th question. What do you think might have happened if the American Jewish chaplains had not been there to help the survivors of the Holocaust? What do you think might have happened if the chaplains you knew had not been there? Comment. This was answered in the 14th question. I think that even if chaplains, either Jewish or Gentile, had not been there, the survivors would have been helped. But all that the survivors needed at the moment of release were clothes and food. And the soldiers, along with the chaplains, gave them as much help as they could. Had the chaplains not been there, the survivors would have been helped anyway. 16. Is there any area that I have not touched upon that you feel should be discussed? If you have not already done so, I suggest you go to the Joint Distribution Committee in New York and check with the reports that are on file there. I know my own reports were sent to New York and are on file in their library.